Good evening and welcome. Welcome everyone to the March 13th City Council meeting, public forum. I'm going to make a couple of announcements first. We have a number of things on the agenda tonight, and so those of you who are here for the Sanctuary City, I will warn you in advance that that's the last item on our agenda, although I think we will get through the agenda fairly quickly, so I don't think you're going to be here until the wee hours this week. But just so you know what's coming. And then a reminder that the public forum is an opportunity for individuals to speak to the City Council on any city-related issues except for those items which have already been heard by a hearings official or are on tonight's agenda as a public hearing. Each person will have 2 minutes to speak, so I'm cutting it back to 2 just so we can get through. When you come to the podium, please give your name, city of residence, and for Eugene residents, your ward if known. The timer and lights indicate the time you have to speak. The red light indicates the end of your 2 minutes. And one other just reminder, which is we want this to be a safe place for everyone to express their opinions, and so we ask that you in the audience be quiet and respectful and keep your responses quiet. You can always do this when you approve, and we're happy to see that, and be respectful of everyone. So that said, we'll open the forum, and first to speak is David Kelly, followed by Jennifer Frenzer-Knowlton.
Good evening, Mayor Vinnis, councilors. I prepped for 3 minutes, of course. I'm David Kelly. I live just outside Eugene. My wife and I own an OLCC licensed indoor marijuana grow in Eugene. We own 2 retail marijuana stores in Eugene that are soon to be licensed, another outside Eugene, and at least 1 more to come, we hope. Wednesday, you are going to be talking in work session about a 1,000-foot required buffer between retail marijuana businesses. I urge you to not move forward with that on Wednesday and to not draft an ordinance. As a former counselor myself, I pay really close attention to why laws are enacted in the first place and what is the motivation. The public is not clamoring for this new law. Who's clamoring is a few of my competitors, basically. The business owners talk about protection from out-of-state money, but it's not that they're after. They're out for protection from newer local entrepreneurs like me. A 1,000-foot buffer will hurt locals like me for a number of reasons. One is the extreme shortage of retail lease space available in the city. My wife and I have been paying rent on our 2 spaces for 8 months without opening for business because we needed to snag them as soon as we found spaces available. There is no reason to regulate separation between marijuana businesses. You don't do it for any other business in the code. If you were to substitute in those owners' statements the words restaurant or grocery store for marijuana retail business, they'd be laughed out of the room. There's simply no reason to establish that separation. This is about the existing dispensaries protecting their turf. They don't want me to have any of their turf. But my wife and I have put $350,000 of our local money into making this a reality. If you do draft an ordinance, watch very carefully about grandfathering. It's taken us 10 months, lease to license. Thank you.
Thank you. Jennifer Frenzer-Knowlton, followed by Leslie something.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Frenzer-Knowlton, and I'm in Betty Taylor's ward. I'm speaking on my own behalf. I'm on the Human Rights Commission, but I'm speaking tonight about the Nightingale Health Sanctuary and the city's requests of that rest stop, and also on the expansion of rest stops. So the city's requests of NHS are troubling to me. Apparently the mission where they are currently staying is very pleased with this outstanding program, and I don't understand why we would break it up and traumatize people, even temporarily, because to tell the truth, even temporarily asking a group like this to move is really traumatizing. And in fact, as soon as folks get a whiff of it, it gets dismantled. So I'm wondering, why not leave it the way it is? I've heard people from the WIT speak here about not adding more rest stops, but I haven't heard anyone request that those rest stops that are currently in place were dismantled. So for me, it sounds like causing a lot of harm and not really doing what the Whitaker asked, especially if they're still welcomed at the mission. And also, I'm not really sure how this encourages other neighborhoods to take in more folks and more rest stops, because we need more time to explain to them what the rest stop programs and car camping and Dust to Dawn is. So if we can give NHS more time to get relocated, and if we can have the city's help and really city resources, staff, in getting the program out there and getting a buzz about the program, then the timing would be much better. And lastly, the dog ban, I'm really disappointed about it, because I think that sets the opposite tone about welcoming people in all these neighborhoods. Thank you.
Thank you. So Leslie, I apologize, I can't read this. Robinette, thank you. And followed by Betty Grant.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Leslie Robinette. I live now in Springfield. Okay, and a lot of you that are still set on the city council has heard me talk many of times. Now, what's being done about the homeless situation? Okay, if you guys go through with having a sanctioned community, you might as well take that flag down and invoke the Third Reich and run the German flag. Okay, because that's ridiculous. What are we doing? Going back to the 1950s where that was segregation? Okay? Now let's get real here, people. Take a lesson from history, okay? And try to get some more spots for rest stops. Don't try to push it off on somebody else. You guys have got the power, okay, to basically say, hey, look, and this was on the docket even when Mayor Kitty Piercy was still mayor. Okay, something needs to be done instead of just brushing it off, brushing it underneath the carpet. We got buildings that are standing empty that could be re-renovated and actually for the homeless instead of having them sleep out underneath the bridge. Okay. Now, why did that one death have to occur when we had that cold weather? Okay, because the warming centers, they only operate on so little. Okay, that is ridiculous. That is a crime against humanity. Okay, so what part of those sentences don't people get? Oops, sorry, kid.
Thank you. Next, Betty Grant, followed by Evan Schenken.
Good evening, Mayor and Councilors. My name is Betty Grant. I currently live in Ward 1, and I'm a property owner in Ward 7. I know, Mayor Venice and Councilors, that we all share a deep concern about Eugene's housing crisis and the resulting high numbers of people living on the streets. About 4 months ago at a work session, the council decided that because the existing rest stops had run smoothly and were meeting an important need to house the unhoused for the past 3 years, that you would remove the sunset provision. At the same time, a commitment was made to establish a rest stop in every ward within the city. To begin community education, council suggested that the city's rest stop video be used for TV public service announcements and showing the same at meetings with neighborhood organizations. There was a stated objective to create a work group in every ward to help with siting and advocacy. I'm not much of a TV watcher, so perhaps I have missed all these PSAs, but I do wonder if there has even been one. And although at the time the council made these commitments last November, there were already homeless advocacy groups organized in several South Eugene neighborhoods and in North River Road and Santa Clara, I am unaware of any success on the city's part to establish additional citizens groups in the area. Perhaps I am wrong. However, it seems that so far we have only words from the city and not truly a commitment in terms of staff and funds to meet the stated objectives. Regular report cards on this issue from the council might both keep your goals in view and also communicate with citizens on progress that is being made. Thank you.
Thank you. Evan Schenken, followed by Michael Gannon.
Hello and thank you. My cards got wet, so I will try to go through this. I am speaking on behalf of myself, but I also represent, I'm sitting on the board of the Toxics Right to Know program, and I would just like to, I'm speaking on behalf of myself, but I'd like to support House Bill 2669 that would essentially remove the caps and allow the Toxics program and many others around the state to really do its job. As we've seen, the EPA will be sort of dismantled, and so it'll be up to our states and city levels to really know what's in our air and water. This is a coalition board that has been working very well to support the charter, and I would just like to say that so in Portland, where there was toxic lead levels that were found, they could have avoided that if they had something like we do in Eugene. So in terms of long-term health of the community, in terms of good PR for the city, I would just like to support the city in endorsing House Bill 2669. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael Gannon, followed by Lisa Arkin.
Good evening, Council, Mayor. I'm Michael Gannon. I live in Eugene. I'm especially glad to be here tonight to talk about the Nightingale Health Sanctuary, while a lot of my fellow citizens are here to talk about a sanctuary of a different nature. But the similarities between them are much greater than the differences. And I am a resident of the Nightingale Health Sanctuary, and I can see that it's kind of like a dustpan for the city of Eugene to sweep it without much care and much thought people into a place where they have a great difficulty trying to stay alive. And if you examine them carefully, which is what I've learned, that the city is not really looking at them nearly as carefully as they could be, we're not figuring out some of our serious human needs problems. I know of 3 undocumented immigrants living on the streets of Eugene, and they are all, for example, suffering medical conditions, and they're caught between the haves and the have-nots. There's so much that we need to talk about that the 2-minute discussion in front of you with little expectation that something will happen is really suppressive by itself. I would comment, though, that sanctuaries are going to be part of our future on the planet. People from all over will need to go at different times to safe places. And we could, in fact, look at this as job creation, that you can teach people how to run sanctuaries so they can go to other places when they're needed. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Lisa Arkin, followed by Ty Bruce Zimmerman.
Good evening, Lisa Arkin. I live in Ward 1. I'm here today to talk to the Eugene City Council about providing support for House Bill 2669, the Toxics Reporting and Community Right to Know bill now being heard in our legislature. I'm the current chair of the City Toxics Board, but I'm not speaking on behalf of the board. But I am speaking from my knowledge of the program after serving on the board for 3 years and having many years of involvement supporting Eugene's program. The chief sponsors of House Bill 2669 are Senator Kathleen Taylor and Representative Rob Noce, both both of them from East Portland, where the problems with the art glass manufacturers really popped out into the air. Also, in past years, our own local representative, Representative Paul Holvey, had sponsored similar bills trying to correct some inadequacies in the legislation. So this is not exactly new. Awareness and appreciation for our own local toxics reporting program has grown after the catastrophe in Portland. And if Portland had had a toxic program like ours, they do believe they would have discovered those problems much sooner and had been able to move to alleviate them. Don't forget those businesses didn't even have a permit to pollute as they were doing. So in a nutshell, here's why I hope the city will support House Bill 2669 and send a representative to the hearing on Monday. The bill is opt-in for municipalities. Cities or counties can choose whether or not to implement a reporting program. It is not mandatory. It does help remove preemptions and barriers that have stymied other cities from doing like Eugene has done. The implementation is based on a polluter pays model. There is no cost to the cities or counties themselves. The bill is firmly grounded in environmental justice principles. The information provided will empower local communities to advocate for the health of their own neighborhoods. And so, by supporting this, we'll have a gem like Eugene has always had throughout the state if cities want to do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Ty Bruce Zimmerman, followed by Kimberly Gladden.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. I'm Ty Bruce Zimmerman. I live in Ward 6. And if those of you who've heard me testify before are surprised I'm speaking now, not later, it's because you already know where I stand on the Sanctuary City Ordinance. I do thank you in advance for passing it, which I trust you'll do. But today I want to speak about downtown safety, which is undoubtedly going to be an ongoing and continuing discussion, since I'm quite sure the dog ban you just passed isn't going to magically solve it. So going forward, I would like to propose the following philosophy for downtown safety. Downtown cannot be made more safe, welcoming, and inclusive via exclusivity. And making it a hardship to be downtown will only restrict access to those who can endure hardship. There is no ban that can make downtown safe. So I hope future efforts will focus on expanding access instead. Things like public restrooms, more seating, more shelter. These are the things that will make downtown welcoming and attractive to the positive elements that ultimately will make it a safer place to be. Thank you.
Thank you. Kimberly Gladden, followed by Brad Foster.
I'm Kimberly Gladden. I live downtown, and I'm here to talk about the downtown. We got a lot of problems downtown. One of our biggest problems is the open drug deals that we have going on our streets, but mainly on the Lane County Courthouse right out there on Saturdays during Saturday market. You and the county commissioners and Lane County judges have allowed people to openly deal meth, heroin, ecstasy, whatever they want over there. People go over there, completely flaunt the laws of our town. This has been going on for years and years, when farmers market and the Saturday market are trying to run family-friendly events. And I hear from tourists all the time. They'll come down and say, what a wonderful market you have. What a wonderful farmers market. But over on the courthouse, what's wrong with your town? That you allow these things to go on. They don't want to bring their kids down here. I know a lot of people don't want to bring their kids down here. As long as you let this go on, we are going to continue to have problems in our town. That draws drug dealers to our town. It draws sex predators to our town because they can drug kids out there and take them home with them or sell them into slavery. Right now, Skinner's Butte Park looks like Short Mountain landfill. Just take a look at the South Slope there. I've seen people openly shooting up in that park on Skinner's Butte, sitting down there in the area with all the trash. I'm sure there's plenty of needles down there. There's people that go hike down there. People have children down there. I won't even go on the trails because I don't feel safe. And I've lived in the downtown for 17 years, and it keeps deteriorating because you, the city council, have done nothing. Lane County commissioners have done nothing but promote these kind of drug use and activities in the downtown. And it's not okay. It's destroying businesses. How many more people have to lose jobs? How many more people have to take their business elsewhere before you do something? I think it's time that you put an end to it and stop dealing drugs in our town.
Thank you. Brad Foster.
Hi, I'm Brad Foster. I live in Ward 7. Hi, Claire, wherever you are. Last week we had Emily Proudfoot from Parks and Open Space come talk to the Whitaker Community Council, and she told us how Parks and Open Space is putting together a long-term plan, and they're looking at asking you for hundreds of millions of dollars. And ordinarily, I'm a guy who says, hey, fine, got to raise taxes. That's good. Taxes are the cost of admission to civilization. I want more civilization. I'm good with taxes. Not this time. Parks and Open Space is a disaster. Have you, the entire riverfront is an open latrine. The bike paths have been taken over by groups of thugs. You've heard it here. People telling you exactly what's going on. And it's because Parks and Open Space says, look, what are we going to do? We've got hundreds of people living there, and we don't have any tools to deal with it. Because no one on your end has said, hey, let's build some homeless shelters, disperse them throughout the city so we can move the people who just need a hand up off of the riverfront, off of the bike paths, make things work a little bit. And the people who are thugs, okay, then we can deal with the thugs afterwards. Right now, you can't tell who's who. So you've got someone like me who's generally very pro-tax, very pro-program. And I'm going to be not just voting against any bond measure that goes on the ballot for Parks and Open Space. I'm going to be working with hundreds of people from the Whitaker to prevent it from passing until we get things like restrooms that are open and clean, not just taken over by a group of thugs who won't let anyone else use them, because that's what we're experiencing. At the end of my street, we've got a restroom. 5 years ago, that was opened year-round. Now it's closed. It says closed because of weather. That's actually a lie, because it was remodeled to be open year-round. It's not closed because of weather. It's closed because Parks and Open Space is tired of cleaning up the mess. I live near Head Start. There is a pile of human feces 75 feet from the entrance to Head Start. City staff knows about it. They won't deal with it. They're overwhelmed. You need to build a homeless shelter, maybe 5.
Thank you. And that is the end of the public forum. So I open it to councilors. Any comments? Emily, Councilor Semple?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you to this huge crowd and all 10 people who talked to us. Your opinions and conversation with council are very, very important, and that's why we have public forums. There will not be a public forum the 4th Monday due to our break, and there will also not be a forum April 10th, so I look forward to hearing from you again in a short 6 weeks. Thank you.
Mayor, could I get in the queue?
Yes, you're up right now.
Thanks. Thanks, everyone who spoke. This is Councilor Syrett, in case you don't know. And in response to the comment about Nightingale Health Sanctuary and the city trying to relocate that, you know, that's a tough situation. When the mission offered to site that Nightingale Health Sanctuary rest stop there, folks in the Whitaker were assured that it would be a temporary siting, that it would not be permanent. And actually, we have had folks come from Whitaker to testify that they would like the current rest stops to be moved out of Whitaker. And while they do think they are a positive program, they feel that with the mission there already, that Whitaker is oversaturated with social services, and I agree with that to a large extent. So while it's challenging, it is a promise that the city made that it would be temporary. I appreciate Brad Foster's comments about the Parks and Open Space Plan and the challenges in Washington Jefferson and the Rose Garden and along the river. I can totally appreciate how he feels about that, and I can believe he is not the only one. So I think we do need to step up our efforts around public shelter and other strategies to alleviate those problems, because I think we will find it difficult to get support for Parks and Open Space Bond if we aren't also addressing those problems at the same time. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? I'll just add, echo that we are continuing to look for locations for the rest stops, and it has proved challenging. So I know we have been going out to neighborhood groups, and I am beginning a conversation about a permanent shelter. So I am hoping that in the coming months we'll begin to look at what the possible scenarios might be and what that would really cost. So we're not ignoring this issue, but it's a very significant public investment is required in order to do that. And so it requires some homework, and we'll be coming back to you more for comments on that. And so I think that closes out the public forum, and we are ready to do the consent calendar.
Move to approve the items on the consent calendar.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor of approving the consent calendar? 1, 2, 3, 4. Councilor Syrett?
I vote yes.
Okay, all in favor. Thank you. All right. Next action. Granite Properties Resolution Amendment. Do we need a city manager? Do you want to, sorry.
Yes, I can introduce it, Mayor, if you'd like.
Yes.
This resolution is intended to clarify an ambiguity of Section 3 of the multi-unit property tax exemption approval resolution related to property ownership. The Olive Lofts project will be a mixed-use redevelopment at 844 Olive Street, formerly the Rogue Brewery, that will add new housing in the downtown core. The amendment clarifies that the exemption takes effect whether Granite Properties acquire the Rogue Brewery property either by itself or together with other owners. The amendment does not change the project or the exemption.
Ready?
I move to approve Resolution 5188, which amends the resolution concerning approval of the multi-unit property tax exemption for the property located at 844 Olive Street in Attachment A.
Second.
Any discussion? Councilor Syrett?
No, I don't have any discussion.
All right. All in favor? Councilor Syrett?
I vote yes.
5 in favor. That passes. All right. Next item, City Manager.
A public hearing was held on February 21st to hear testimony regarding the annual withdrawal of annexed properties from special service districts. No one provided testimony at the public hearing. However, Councilor Clark requested additional information regarding the budgets of each special service district and how many properties are within each special district. Consultation with Lane County Assessment and Taxation, staff has provided this information as an attachment to the agenda item summary. It is important that Council take action and adopt the ordinance this evening because state statutes provide that any properties to be withdrawn must be approved by March 31st, 2017. Otherwise, these properties will remain on the tax rolls of special service districts for an additional year.
I move to adopt Council Bill 5167, an ordinance withdrawing territories from the Santa Clara Rural Fire Protection District, the Santa Clara Water District, the Willackenzie Rural Fire Protection District, the Lane Rural Fire and Rescue District, the Junction City Water Control District, the River Road Park and Recreation District, the River Road Water District, and the Eugene Rural Fire Protection District 1.
Second, Mayor.
Any discussion? Councilor Clark?
Thank you, Mayor. City Attorney, point of order. This is an emergency clause we're going to invoke if we vote on this evening. Is that correct?
Let me take a look at the ordinance.
In order to be inside of 30?
It's just for the approval, not for the implementation.
Well, I was just responding to what the manager just said.
Yeah, must be withdrawn.
The ordinance does not have an immediate effective date clause. So the ordinance will take effect in 30 days, but the ordinance will have been adopted before the end of March.
And that suffices the law for the purposes of what the manager mentioned about the tax base?
I believe so.
Hope so. Okay. I was actually getting at the other thing, too, to understand that if the ordinance does have an effective date with an emergency clause, that requires 6 counselors, or that requires 2/3 of the present counselors?
So an immediate effective date clause actually requires 6 counselors to vote yes.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, any other comments? All in favor? Councilor
I vote yes, Mayor.
All right, 5 in favor. That passes. Okay. We are now ready for a public hearing and action on the FY 2018-2023 Capital Improvement Program. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. The Capital Improvement Program is a 6-year planning document that will be used to guide capital infrastructure investments and serve as the basis of the capital budget for the next 2 fiscal years. The 2018-2023 CIP is based on various city long-range plans, goals, and policies, and totals $162 million over this time period. This public hearing is an opportunity for members of the public to provide input on projects included in the CIP.
I realize that I failed to gavel in to that public hearing, so we're in.
And we're out.
And we're out, and there's no one to testify, so we're out. That was easy. Okay.
I move to adopt FY 28 to 2023 Capital Improvement Program as recommended by the Budget Committee.
Second.
Any discussion? Councilor Syrett?
No, thank you, Mayor.
All in favor? 3, Councilor
And I vote yes.
Okay, so 4 in favor, all opposed, 1 opposed. So it passes. Okay, thank you. Okay, now the one we've all been waiting for. The public hearing, an ordinance concerning protections for individuals and adding sections 2.495 and 2.497 to the Eugene Code 1971. City Manager?
This is a public hearing on an ordinance that would adopt into city code the provisions of two state statutes limiting certain actions by law enforcement and also expand those provisions to apply to all other city employees. The provisions generally limit the collecting and maintaining of certain types of information. Following the public hearing, the council also has the option of taking action at this meeting to approve the ordinance.
All right, I have 35 people signed up to speak, so 2 minutes. The first one is Joe Tyndall, followed by Jennifer Frenzer-Knowlton.
Hi, Joe Tyndall. I live off River Road. Equality under the law, the rule of law, free speech, and freedom from real rather than imagined violence are the classic liberal values that make immigrants want to come to America. Under these principles, police cannot pick and choose who to punish or which laws to enforce. Yet tonight, many will advocate discarding these liberty-protecting standards. This is madness. Unrestricted immigration depresses wages, raises unemployment, increases homelessness, raises prices, and concentrates wealth. The law of supply and demand reigns supreme. Rather than demanding non-enforcement, do the work to change the laws you do not like. Being too lazy or too mired in ideology to use our constitutionally guaranteed electoral process is not a valid reason to undermine the ideals that gave you the prosperity and privilege you take for granted. This mob is about virtue signaling. If it wasn't, you would combine your efforts into a petition to save time and respect the folks on this city council. We get it. You are impeccably informed, empathetic, morally superior crusaders, having perfectly foreseen and considered all consequences of your demand. Protests are not power. Power comes when you do the door-to-door, face-to-face work to sell your vision and to field credible opposition candidates. Doing this forces you to take your narrative outside its fake news-driven echo chamber. Try pushing your nonsense at working folks who vote regularly. You will soon learn why America chose Trump. If you riot, if you punch a Nazi, if you continue transitioning to violence, if you break laws, including entering the United States illegally, the police should and will respond accordingly. Thank you.
Jennifer Frenzer-Knowlton, followed by Bonnie Souza.
Jennifer Frenzer-Knowlton, and I'm in Betty Taylor's ward. I want to thank you for putting in place needed protections for community members being targeted by anti-immigration policies and ICE deployments. Those threats undermine human rights, community safety, and it's up to local governments to offset that effect. Many thanks also to community members who are stepping up, speaking out, lending their hands, and are going to continue to be there to take the steps necessary, even after the ordinance is in place, to make sure vulnerable community members are protected. Thank you.
Thank you. Bonnie Souza, followed by Carol Schurer.
Good evening. My name is Bonnie Souza, and I'm in Ward 2, Betty Taylor's ward. Though I am a member of the Eugene Human Rights Commission, tonight I am here as a private citizen to deliver testimony on behalf of the American Civil Liberties Union of Oregon. The ACLU strongly supports and urges your approval of the ordinance on protections for individuals. The ACLU submitted written testimony today to the council. I will briefly address a few points here. Over the years, the city of Eugene has made it clear that it strives to be a welcoming and inclusive city. The proposed ordinance takes a concrete step to ensure that city resources are not used in ways contrary to those values. Immigration law is the purview of the federal government. State and local governments have no say or role in immigration law. Decisions of the current president have placed immigrants in great fear that families will be torn apart and individuals deported to places where their lives are in danger. The city of Eugene has no power to change those federal policies. The city cannot prevent or interfere with federal agents enforcing immigration laws. However, you do have the power to decide how the city's resources will be used, and the proposed ordinance reflects your legal authority in this area. The second section of the ordinance is a ban on collecting and maintaining information on people in Eugene unless it directly relates to a criminal investigation. The First Amendment protects everyone's political, religious, or social views, associations, or activities. This ordinance sends a clear signal that this type of surveillance will not be tolerated in Eugene. In closing, the ACLU wants to note that the ordinance mirrors 2 state laws. By adopting its own version of those laws, the city is affirmatively embracing these values for itself and is creating laws that will stand if the state laws are ever changed or repealed. Thank you.
Thank you. Carol Schurer, followed by Selena Trevino.
Hi, I'm Carol Stier. I'm in Chris Pryor's ward. An ESL instructor from LCC asked her students a question, and she has a comment from one of her students that she asked to have read to you. The question is, what is your greatest fear related to immigration? And her student answered, one of my greatest fear is to leave this country because my daughter, she's only 7 years old, and I would like her grow up in this country because this is her country. If for a reason I get deported to my country, she won't get opportunity in this country. My dream is that my daughter study here and be someone in her life, because where I come from, unfortunately, there is no opportunity. And prior to coming today, I thought we might have a unanimous response by the council for this ordinance. And I see missing members, so I don't know if that's possible. But I would hope that the legacy that this council will leave the future generations, the younger generations, is that the heart was good and that you did what would feel good as we look back from this viewpoint, this point in history. So here is to thanking you for passing this ordinance.
Thank you. Selena Trevino, followed by James Morrison.
Hi, I'm Selena Trevino, a student from the University of Oregon, from Ward 3, and I'm here as a child of immigrants, as someone who was born and raised in Hillsboro, Oregon. I stand here with MECHA as well as Mujeres student organizations at the University of Oregon, where we fight these battles day to day, and we talk about these issues regarding discrimination and bigotry, sexism, all kinds of things that affect all of us. We're all united against it. And I just stand here and ask of you to do what is decent, to do what is right. We understand that you don't have the power to change immigration laws at a federal level or at a federal way, but we ask that here in this city, in this community, that you will stand up for what is right. And I just don't want to see my family be taken away, because we have been raised here with the idea that we have opportunities to make our lives greater. We are in a country, the United States, that was founded upon immigrants, right? So regardless of your race or the color of your skin, we didn't all just come out of nowhere. We didn't come from magic, right? Some of you may have ancestry from Germany, from Great Britain, from different countries that were overseas that weren't here because this is indigenous land and this is indigenous country. So as a community, I say here, anyone from MECHA, if you want to raise your hand in agreeance because you're here standing united with us, I would just like to show you that we are here and we're ready to fight the good fight, and we hope that you will stand with us.
Thank you. James Morrison, followed by Ken Newbeck.
Good evening, Council and Mayor. My name is Jim Morrison. I'm an information security professional residing in the Santa Clara area. I deal with detailing risks and threats all day long, helping fight cybercrime. I'm going to talk to that a little bit towards the end, but first a little background. When Thomas Jefferson wrote in the Declaration of Independence, he said, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." Now that was being spoken to an oppressive government over in the King of England, but it was also to the colonists that eventually became the first American citizens. When the Constitution was enacted, several years later, the rule of law existed. Now, the rule of law is the key concept of what makes America great. It is the standard of all free people, and that would be self-governed in the world. It must be upheld at all costs. So when the rule of law has been established, it establishes the sovereignty of a nation. Now, the Constitution, even though I'm not a constitutional expert, I've not found anywhere where it says that the rights that Thomas Jefferson was speaking of applies to foreign nationals. It is not a right. However, there is a privilege given by the only authority that can give that privilege, and that is the federal government. So if you degrade the rule of law by this ordinance, as it is stated, what you're doing is degrading the key concept of what makes America great, the standard by which everybody else wants to come here. By degrading the rule of law, you are injecting possible risk to the safety of our residents. Why is that? Because of the unintended consequences and the unknown.
Thank you.
Well, let me continue, because what you're doing...
We have everybody gets 2 minutes. You have.
This is a good example.
Excuse me, crowd. We have 2 minutes. Everyone else has abided by the 2 minutes. Please.
True.
I know you have a lot to. You may submit written testimony. You may submit written testimony to us.
I have to have a seat.
You may.
That's exactly right.
Submit written testimony. Thank you. Crowd. No.
Let me ask you a question.
Please. Next up is Ken Newbeck.
I need to sit down. Okay. Please take in consequences the unintended consequences.
Hi, I'm Ken Newbeck. I'm the chair of the Human Rights Commission, and I live in Councilor Semple's ward. First of all, I want to thank the City Council for expediting consideration of the proposed ordinance to make Eugene a sanctuary city. This ordinance may be one of the most significant acts in support of human rights the Council undertakes this year. In 2010, I was part of a 10-day fact-finding mission to Oaxaca, Mexico, sponsored by CAUSA, Oregon's statewide immigrant rights organization. In the city of Oaxaca, we met with NGOs who educated us about the human impact of NAFTA, drug cartels, gangs, organized crime, and the militarized political oppression taking place, including use of torture. We also heard horrific background stories from Central American migrants staying in a shelter in Oaxaca, where they received advice on how to avoid robbery, violent assault, or kidnapping for ransom by gangs preying on migrants who were fleeing north. We visited remote towns in Oaxaca, mountain towns, populated only by impoverished elderly people and caring for children whose parents were forced to leave them behind to find jobs in the United States and were sending money home. I've developed over time a real sense of why so many people, out of desperation and with little choice, struggled to cross the border and now are residing here. And in fact, many of the people living in Oregon are from Oaxaca. Many are people who were deeply traumatized in their homelands in the process of crossing the border to get to the U.S., by the racism they've encountered here, by the exploitation of their labor in this country, and by policies of our federal government in Washington that label them illegal aliens subject to deportation. Approval of the ordinance before us today will not end the trauma that such immigrants experience, but it does speak to and respect their human rights to life, health, personal security, and dignity, Eugene.
Thank you.
I respectfully request that you unanimously approve the ordinance.
Thank you. Charlie Landeros, followed by Roy Ward.
So I want to thank all the black and brown people for being here today. You're all powerful. I also want to say that we are on Kalapuya land, and this land, this country, has been a sanctuary to white men for the past 2 centuries, and we're just asking for the same rights and privileges that white men have enjoyed on this land that they've stripped away from the indigenous people. I find it outrageous that we even need a movement so that my friends and family can go home and feel the safety that many of you sitting in front of me feel today. I ask that the City Council try to imagine for a moment what it might feel like knowing that an entire federal agency exists for the sole purpose of your destruction. The incredible activists behind me are not here for a hashtag on Facebook. They're not here they're not paid protesters looking for a paycheck. They're not illegal humans, for there are no illegal humans. They are here because this is a matter of survival. My people did not survive centuries of colonialism and white supremacy to be erased by a reality TV star. And I ask the City Council to take a stand today to be on the right side of history. Take a step tonight in the right direction. No human is illegal. White supremacy is not the reason why America is great. Vote for sanctuary.
Thank you. Roy Ward, followed by Alejandro Garcia Iboa.
Hello, I'm Roy Ward. I live in Betty Taylor's ward, and I'm a recent immigrant from New Zealand. And I want to thank you in advance for passing this ordinance. It's going to. I welcome that. It means that other immigrants will be hopefully made as welcome as I have been in this great city. There are a couple of things I wanted to bring up from the working group. I know that there were 5 outcomes that were discussed, and this ordinance covers 3.5 of them. And I know the point in doing that was to pass this ordinance quickly, but I would please urge you to consider looking into the other into making the ordinance wider to protect groups that aren't currently covered, because at the moment we have quite a capricious, what appears to me to be quite capricious administration in Washington, and we don't know who they're going to go after next, so we need to be prepared. And the other thing is, also in the working group, there was mentioned several times that we don't want to poke the bear. And I agree, we don't want to unnecessarily poke the bear, but there might come a time when we have to. And I'm here to say that I intend to be standing here supporting you if it becomes necessary. And I can't speak for other people in the room, but I suspect a lot of those will be here too. So thank you.
Thank you. Alejandro Garcia-Iboa, followed by Joel Iboa.
Hola, buenas noches. Ojalá que todos se le están pasando bien. My name is Alejandro Garcia. I'm from Ward 8. I've lived in Eugene, Oregon for about 17 years. I'm a senior at Churchill High School, associate student body secretary, site council representative. I have a 3.5 GPA, have had a job and still have a job for 2 years, pay my taxes. Yay, I guess, you know. I've been accepted. Yeah. Shut up. I've been accepted to 3 of the 4 colleges that I've applied to and still waiting to respond for the last one. Crossing my fingers, you know. Whitman, hurry up. Talking about those colleges, I have had most of them offer me full ride scholarships, if not mostly full ride scholarships. I have achieved all these things and overcome all the adversities in spite of being an undocumented student with DACA. I received DACA 2 years ago, 2015, probably one of the best, if not the most important moments in my life. It has opened opportunities and it's opened doors that I would have never had access to without it. So having this ordinance pass would allow people like myself, students, undocumented students, DACA students, to feel just more safe in a community that has helped nurture me into the person you are seeing right now. In regards to other stuff, having support as a DACA or an undocumented student is what we need the most. Because support is one of the most fundamental things that everybody needs in their life. Nobody can go anywhere without support from their family, from the people around them, from their own community. I want this ordinance to pass because it sets forth a message to not only other cities, to not only other states, but to the whole country that we, the people in Eugene, stand together in face of all the things and all the people who wish to see us fail. Thank you.
Thank you. Joel Iboa, followed by Therese Picado.
Good afternoon. My name is Joel Iboa. I live in Ward 7 in the Whitaker. I've come here many times, and I will be coming here more after today. In February, I had the privilege of seeing Governor Kate Brown pass an executive order banning all state agencies from assisting ICE. There's been a law in effect since 1986 prohibiting police from doing such. Even though we have this law in effect, it's important that Eugene pass one as well, just in case things go awry at the state level. Your actions today will determine what people in our city feel. It will determine the tone children feel walking to school. It will determine how students like Alex feel talking to their peers and their teachers. I work for an organization called Causa Oregon. We are Oregon's premier statewide organization advocating for Latino immigrants as the coalition coordinator. My job is to track anti-immigrant bills, ballot measures, and groups that threaten the safety of Oregonian immigrants. I graduated from the University of Oregon, and I plan to live many years in Eugene. I hope that the 2017 City Council's legacy will be that of unity and respect for immigrants. There have been several cities Causa Oregon has already helped pass a sanctuary ordinance. They are as follows: Salem, McMinnville, Astoria, Newburgh, Hillsborough, hopefully Eugene today, and Portland on Wednesday. I thank you now for the legacy you will leave for those of tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you. Therese Picado, followed by Mariana Perdones.
Hello, my name is Therese Picado. I live in Ward 1. I am here tonight to implore you to take a moral, ethical, and legal stand in solidarity with the immigrant neighbors of our community and to share with you the story of my friends who are undocumented. The father of this beautiful, humble, loving, and hardworking family came to the U.S. in August 2000 from Michoacan, Mexico, in desperate search of work to sustain a family. He came with a group of immigrants crossing a wilderness of desert by foot for 3 days with very little food and water. The whole group did make it, and ultimately he was able to connect with family living in Salem. He worked at an onion farm, and once he was settled with family, he sent for his wife. She came across hidden in a car in extreme heat. She describes it as a most terrifying, difficult experience. Still, she and her husband were reunited, and they were grateful. Within months, she was pregnant with her first child, and by the time her daughter was born, they had found their own apartment. They have lived in this community now for 14 years and now have 3 children, all legal. The father now works as a blue-collar laborer in wood products, and the mother works as a house cleaner and a homemaker. Because of this administration's targeting of immigrants, this family is wrought with fear, constantly nervous, sad, worried. They no longer feel calm and safe in the community they call home. Their daughter tells me they are all under a heavy mantle of stress, but still, this girl, 16 years of age, tries to act normal and be brave. She says, I have this to say about my parents. I am so proud of my parents. They work hard and show their effort and dedication every day. They are my motivation. I love them so much, and I am so worried about their safety. Thank you.
Thank you. Mariana Perdones, followed by Debbie Payne.
Hello, City Council, community of Eugene. My name is Mariana, and I'm a co-chair for the Oregon Students of Color Coalition. I'm a resident of Springfield, and honestly, I shouldn't have to come here and explain why my life should not be a casualty to the violence against migrant communities, but here I am before you and people in my community to share deeply vulnerable parts of myself in hopes that you'll see me and validate me. I'm a first-generation immigrant, daughter of a very large family, and honestly my ancestors' wildest dreams. My biggest crime has been fleeing for my safety with my family from a socio-political war that was infringed by the very country I reside in. I know that I'm not the most dangerous immigrant to come here, because the most dangerous, terrorizing immigrant that came here was back in 1492. There are too many barriers for undocumented people. Know that people don't choose to be undocumented. You compromise and you sacrifice so much. My life is full of compromises and sacrifices, and this is all for simply being myself and living. You see, my biggest fear is not death, and that is something I learned at a very young age. There are worse things than death. Humiliation, dehumanization, walls that have been put up that bar me from opportunities I cannot climb but walk along every day. A scapegoat for crimes I've never committed, but I will always be thwarted towards. I've lost 2 brothers to deportation. I've been categorized by every label you can think of, but I've defied every one of them. I am Mariana. I'm not illegal. I have lived in ICE land in Arizona. These deportation reigns are not new to me. But I can say that pushing a dehumanizing rhetoric against our communities will not bring me down. I'll have to end with one thing. Tonight you have the opportunity to direct the city's moralities that will be noted in history, both the city and your political records. I see 2 different routes.
Thank you.
Abstaining means neutrality.
Thank you.
1 means no, aligning with hate. And 2 means yes, standing with
you.
us.
You can submit this in writing to us if you need
That's
more.
all I had to say. In Lakesh.
Thank you. Debbie Payne, followed by Justice Skinner-Lopata.
Good evening. I'm Debbie Payne from Bethel District. I want to first thank you for being here and passing sanctuary law tonight. I was real surprised to find out that we weren't a sanctuary city. That's how happy my life was before November of 16. I want to say that I want to apologize for the younger youth here in this room today for me being asleep and living a happy life and allowing so many deterioration of my country. I am direct descendant of Pocahontas. I am direct descendant of the souls of the Mayflower. I am American citizen, writing and speaking to any eye, any ear, anyone with a soul to do the right human act, stop the deportation of Mexican mothers. Children are living in fear like a stage 4 cancer. It makes a child less than who they are capable of being. They're losing their parents not through death, but by some unjust. It's just unspeakable. Thank you for passing this law tonight. I'm glad to live in a blue state. Thank you.
Thank you. Justice Skinner-Lopata, followed by Malia Goza.
Hi, my name is Justice Skinner-Lopata. I am here as a representative of the Willamette Valley Student Union. I am from Eugene City, Ward 1. Oregon was established as a pure white utopia, fixated on restricting any racial diversity. It is important that we change and make Oregon a place where all are welcome to exist and thrive as humans. We need to ensure that minorities have space for their voices to be heard. Within our community, minority groups are being targeted and harassed. Enforcing Eugene's sanctuary ordinance will reiterate that we do not tolerate the increasing hate, discrimination, and assault that individuals like Trump excuse and promote. Please ensure that our city does not revert to its racist values simply because our new legislation does not value the lives of minorities. Thank you.
Thank you. Malia Goza, followed by Cameron Hubble.
Hi, my name is Malia Goza. I'm here as a representative of the High School Willamette Valley Student Union. Every human being deserves to know safety, deserves to know kindness and respect regardless of ethnicity or race, and that is obvious. It seems completely indisputable, but unfortunately not everybody believes that to be true. Oregon's history is rooted in stepping on the backs of marginalized people. Today, we are seeing history repeat itself. In the past few months, there has been an increase in acts of outright bigotry, silence of minority voices, and an atmosphere of discrimination. We must stand together to create a safe space for the oppressed groups of this community, specifically immigrants. Making Eugene a sanctuary city is only the first step, but everybody deserves a sanctuary, so I hope you'll make the right choice. Thank you.
Thank you. Cameron Hubble or Hubby, followed by Jennifer Scott.
Hi, my name's Cameron Hubie. That's all right. I'm in Emily Semple's ward. Boy, I want to thank everybody for speaking. I'm the granddaughter of immigrants, and any of us from European heritage are the children of immigrants. who came here under any number of circumstances, and we're probably glad that they were able to. And I would like everyone to have the chance to immigrate if they need to. I know that the circumstances for many people are very desperate. And I know and treasure people in that situation, and am really praying for them. And I just want to say that the targeting of immigrants hurts all of us. It's a divide and rule tactic that weakens our communities, distracts us from seeing the real and pressing problems facing us, and makes it harder to come together to solve those problems. I want to thank you in advance for passing the sanctuary ordinance and protecting our community from these attacks.
Thank you. Jennifer Scott, followed by Hugo Nicholas.
Council, hi Mayor. My name is Jennifer Scott, and I'm from Springfield. I'm also a teacher at South Eugene High School, and I'm a supporter of the Willamette Valley Student Union. Wanted to start with a little definition. Humanism is a philosophical and ethical stance that emphasizes the value and agency of human beings individually and collectively, and affirms their ability to improve their lives through the use of reason and ingenuity, as opposed to submitting blindly to tradition and authority or sinking into cruelty and brutality. The Latin word humanitas signifies a kind of friendly spirit and good feeling towards all men without distinction. I come here to support Eugene becoming a sanctuary city, despite the entrenched beliefs of those who prefer to think that some people are not as worthy as others when it comes to living and working in this country. I come here not as a white woman, not as an American, but as a humanist. I am concerned about my students, not only the ones who feel threatened by racial tensions and religion, the difference of religion, but I also come here today for those students who have not even had the bravery or courage to come up to me and tell me their problems regarding their fears of deportation, of their family's deportation. I came from Las Vegas, and there was a high population of immigrants, and a lot of them were afraid to report to the police if they felt that they were going to be deported. This is a serious issue. The police need to do their job, and it's really important that when immigrants are given sanctuary, that if a crime does occur, they can feel safe in reporting it. I really hope that the Eugene City Council will vote on this ordinance so that they can be safe, so that they can show their support to this population, and increase the power of a compassionate citizenry that will inspire other cities to do so. Thank you.
Thank you. Hugo Nicholas, followed by Michelle Eggers.
Thank you, everyone, for having me here tonight. So I'm just going to read this because, sometimes I get too emotional, and I may not look like a big crier, but I am. So my name is Hugo Nicolas. I came from Mexico, Veracruz. When I was 11, at a very young age, I learned to love this country because of the sacrifices that every American did in order to uphold the American way of life. So I remember being 11, walking the desert with my mom with a couple toys that my grandparent gave me before I left. At a young age, I decided someday I wanted to defend this nation in our military or one of our alphabet agencies. So what I decided to do, I got really involved in my community, volunteering for the police department, fire department, Army ROTC, as well as our city council. And even against the odds, I always took the challenge because I love this country, because this is where I want to be, this is where I belong, and this is who I am. After high school, I worked in the fields, which I was lucky to survive exploitation. I really got tired of my hands bleeding every day after work, and sometimes I would get home and I was tired that I couldn't even eat. So today I'm attending University of Oregon and work full-time for a private company to be able to pay for my tuition out of pocket. And today I have the opportunity to be where I am because the community put me where I am right now. And like the Founding Fathers, I am fighting for the right to call myself an American because they also did that as well. And today is a dark time for my parents, my sister, and myself, which they are at risk of deportation because they call us criminals, drug dealers, and that we bring problems. My parents drive in fear. They don't go out anymore. And also, it is their story as well. It's not just my story. So today I ask you to support this resolution because my parents are good citizens. They just want to be able to drive, go to church, buy groceries, and that's all they want to do. 2 years ago, I had the honor to visit the Holocaust Memorial, and one of the things that, stood out to me the most was the fact that people didn't stand up because it was the right thing, and I would just submit the rest for, but thank you.
Thank you. Michelle Eggers, followed by Sarah Steckel.
Hi, good evening. Thank you so much for your work and for the opportunity to speak with you tonight. My name is Michelle Eggers. I am the daughter of immigrant parents from South America, and I am assistant professor at Pacific University in the Master Social Work program in downtown Eugene. I live in Ward 7. It is my personal and professional commitment to social justice and human rights that compels me to speak with you about the proposed ordinance concerning protections for individuals. I urge you to pass this ordinance, and I would like to share a couple of reasons why I feel this way. Much of my work has been focused on understanding the underlying conditions that force migration from Latin America into the United States. I've met women from Mexico who are escaping extremely abusive relationships, and I've spoken with teenagers, journalists, religious leaders, and indigenous Hondurans who were forced to flee their home communities because of exploitation around issues of resource extraction, tourism, and state violence. These people are not criminals. They are social, economic, political, and environmental refugees. After the November 8th election results, my students and other community members are expressing that they no longer feel safe in our community for themselves or their families because of the hostile political environment. The current political climate, which fosters permissive, harmful attitudes and practices, has put us as a community in an ethical position to prioritize our commitment to making Eugene a welcoming, safe, and inclusive community as per Council Resolution 5174. I believe it is the duty of our community to use its resources and to ensure we remain a place that actively protects the rights and safety of every member of our community. I encourage the City Council to provide the leadership needed to join cities across the United States in fighting unjust policies and practices that are aimed to target our most vulnerable community members. It is our collective responsibility to communicate to all people of color, immigrants, children of immigrants, and indigenous peoples, Muslims, queers, transgender, and gender nonconforming folks, to all the women, the survivors of sexual and body violence, to the houseless and other bodies silenced or ignored. As a community, we see you and you matter. Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah Steckel, followed by Marissa Garcia.
I'm Sarah Steckel. I live in Ward 3, and I'm here speaking as a private citizen, but also on behalf of the newly inaugurated South Willamette Valley chapter of the National Organization for Women, or NOW. We're in support of Eugene becoming a sanctuary city. NOW's core priorities include racial justice, economic justice, and ending violence against women, amongst other things. Moreover, NOW both locally and nationally fights for the rights of all women, and many undocumented people are women, of course, or women or females or girls who will be negatively affected by mass deportation and harassment of immigrant communities. And then I'm also going to do something which I realize is a little bit cliche and quote Martin Luther King Jr., but I'm going to quote from a letter from Birmingham Jail, both because it is a perfect piece of rhetoric that everyone should read, and also because some of the opposition tonight have cited the rule of law as the basis for their argument. MLK says, "The answer is found in the fact that there are two types of laws. There are just laws and there are unjust laws. I would agree with St. Augustine that an unjust law is no law at all. Any law that uplifts human personality is just. Any law that degrades human personality is unjust." Thank you.
Thank you. Marissa Garcia, followed by Erica Thesson.
Hi, my name is Marissa Garcia, and as of a week ago, I'm part of Chris Pryor's 8th Ward. I'm here tonight because of all the families who are having to have conversations that nobody should ever have to have, conversations about who would watch their kids if they were deported, what would happen, would they even get a phone call. Those aren't situations that our family should have to be thinking about right now. And our decision tonight isn't going to create a bubble of safety for these families. I explained that last time we were here. I think that was 3 or 4 months ago. But the threat of ICE will still be real. And this is us taking a stand saying that as a city, we're going to do the right thing. And we have a lot of talk about being a diverse community. I can say coming from LA, it's a little different when you move here. And I can't say that would be how I would describe Eugene, but that's what we're striving for, right? That's what our community is aiming to become, is truly diverse and welcoming of people from all backgrounds. So this is our opportunity to show that that's really what we're hoping to achieve, and to put our actions where our mouth is, and to actually take an action that supports that stance we've claimed for so long, and do the right thing for everybody who lives here. Thank you.
Erica Thesson, followed by Michelle Martinez.
Hi, I'm Erica Thesson. I'm from Ward 8, Mr. Prayer's ward. I don't have any notes because I'm speaking from the heart. I'm a mom of 3 school-aged children, and I was shocked the day after the election. My 2 youngest came home in tears because they said that they had friends that were scared that they were going to be sent, that their parents were going to be sent away. 3 weeks ago, my son came home and said he needed to speak with me privately, and that, Mom, are there a couple kids that we could take to live with us when their parents get deported? I'm a single working mom. I have 3 kids. I didn't know what to say, and he said, Mom, what can you do to help keep them safe? And he said, we can make this work, Mom. We'll get together. We'll make this work. And last week when I picked up my kids at school, one of the children just came up to me and he grabbed my hand, and all he said was, do you think maybe one day you can help me? That was it. He didn't say anything else. And all I can say is, looking in the faces of these children and knowing their families, man, these are amazing children. They are smart. They are talented. Oh, they're such well-behaved kids. They're natural-born citizens. Can we really allow these families to be torn apart? Please, I'm asking you as a mother to help protect these children and their families and pass a sanctuary ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you. Michelle Martinez, followed by Perla Alvarez.
Hello. I would like to first start by recognizing and reminding everyone that we are on Indigenous Kalapuya land. My name is Michelle. I am a U of O student. A big part of this debate is the concept of legality, human legality. And this concept is man-made. With tools like borders and deportations, they exist not to protect our nation or maintain a rule of law, like racists like to say. Instead, human legality, borders and deportations protect and uphold America's capitalistic interests, continue Western imperialism, and preserve the racist, xenophobic, nativist culture deeply embedded in Oregon and in this country. What should be called illegal. Despite this rhetoric, however, I learned that nothing about me is illegal or unworthy. I have been here before because of my indigenous roots. They run right underneath that border. I carry deep connections to these lands. So if we are going to be talking about legality, let's get one thing clear. It's the U.S. border that's illegal, not me, not us, okay? What should be called illegal are some of the violent acts committed by this nation. The real job stealers are American corporations. The real terrorists are white extremists, and I'm done being a scapegoat for those. By passing this ordinance, Eugene refuses to stand by Trump's racist, xenophobic, toxic, nationalistic, and nativist anti-immigration rhetoric. These deportations are cruel and unjust and unfound, and I urge Eugene to offer the protection due to these migrants. Thank you.
Thank you. Perla Alvarez, followed by Manuel Mejia Gonzalez.
Hello, members of the council. My name is Perla Alvarez Lucio, and I live right next to the University of Oregon. I am an immigrant from Mexico City, and I am speaking on favor of the sanctuary city in Eugene. I am an ally to my friends, my family, and my community, and I am here to express that it is urgent that the sanctuary city ordinance passes tonight. No one deserves to live in uncertainty, wondering if our families will return home after school or after work. This uncertainty causes stress, anxiety, depression, and trauma for adults and for children. I have experienced all of these, wondering if I will get to see my best friend, my uncle, my aunt, my cousins again. They who have cleaned, built, painted, and fixed your homes and yards. But they are so much more than the work they do. They are humans. They are my family. They are the ones who keep me going, all to have a better life. When this passes, we will be letting the world know that the city of Eugene cares about families and children's well-being. And as Gloria Saldúa said once, this land was Mexican once and was Indian always. Let's act today, Eugene. Sí se puede.
Manuel Mejia Gonzalez, followed by Sarah Hubie.
Good evening, council members. For the record, my name is Manuel Mejia Gonzalez. I'm a transfer student at the University of Oregon, also a member at MECHA at the U of O. And I've been residing in this lovely city for about 10 years now. Now, when I first came here at 11 years of age, my mom, sisters, and I had nothing but the clothes on our bodies, fleeing from the violence that reigned in our state and in our home. We came here undocumented because there was no other way for our family to have done it and survived. We came here looking for the land of opportunity, but today I'm afraid I understand this land otherwise. The fact of the matter is that the policy created through lobbying on behalf of the beneficent agribusiness and farm industries has historically facilitated immigration to supply the enormous demand for cheap labor while supplying nothing that seeks to integrate the people that quite literally feed us into our society. Instead, our people are criminalized, and the image of the deportable is racialized. The image of the deportable is one of brown people with dark hair, with an accent like myself. Today, despite my permanent residence, I fit these criteria and will suffer the racial profiling on behalf of police officers, other institutions, and this community unless we fight this rising culture of hate. Because one day our children will look at this exploitation from our community the same way that we today look at slavery and Jim Crow. In order to effectively protect these communities that will be prosecuted and further stratified under this administration, community organizers in coalition with the Human Rights Commission are presenting this ordinance, one of many, many future attempts to protect our undocumented brothers and sisters. Learning from our history, the Eugene City Council needs this ordinance as the post-16 elections come after this very integral part of our community. I ask you to remember the history because it will certainly remember you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah Hubie, followed by Jesse Hubie.
Hi, my name is Sarah Hubie, and I reside in Emily Semple's ward. And all I have to say is thank you for passing the ordinance. You've heard it all. You've heard so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jesse Hubie, followed by Darian Morey.
My name is Jesse Hubie. I reside in Lucy Venice ward, and I'm just here to express support to all the people in support of this ordinance. Like my mom said, you said it all. It's just so moving to be here with all of you. Many of my friends are undocumented, and just to see what they have to go through on a daily basis, it's heartbreaking. We should be a community that's inclusive, that makes a safe place for everybody. Yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Darian Morey, followed by Penny Palmer.
City Council Mayor, thank you for hearing us tonight. My name is Dr. Darian Morey. I'm a retired physician. I live in Ward 1 of Eugene, and I've lived here since 1983. I grew up, I'm a son of North American parents, but I grew up in several Latin American countries and learned Spanish as a child, and so I am bilingual. And as a practicing family practitioner in Bonita and then in Eugene, later as a radiologist during my radiology practice, and in retirement, I've been very active in treating Hispanic patients. They've been a large part of my medical practice, and Since I retired, I've volunteered at Volunteers in Medicine, both as an interpreter and as a provider, and now with Huerto de la Familia with their volunteer clinic. So I've had extensive contact with the Hispanic community, and all I can say is that over the years I've found them to be hardworking, honest people. Our immigrants, to me, embody all the ideals that our country was founded on. And it breaks my heart that we have become so frightened as a nation that we are turning our back on the very qualities that we sought and that our immigrants embody. So I would just strongly encourage the council to vote unanimously for this ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you. Penny Palmer, followed by Marina Hayek.
Hi, I'm Penny Palmer. I've never done this before, so I just found out tonight I'm in Ward 1. I'm speaking as a member of First United Methodist Church. It feels like a voice of faith is an important part of this whole discussion. We're called to look out for those, our brothers and sisters in need. We're called to resist evil, and we're called to stand up for justice. And I'm glad that somebody brought up about Martin Luther King's, that there are higher moral laws and values that we are called to follow. And so we're strongly urging you to pass this measure, and we want all the other groups that are here to know we've got your backs. We're here for you. Whatever we can do, we're with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Marina Hayek, followed by Johannes Tadeo.
Hello, good evening. My name is Marina Hayek and I live in South Eugene. Nice to meet you, Mayor, for the first time, and councilors. Yes, I am here today as myself, representing myself, to advocate for the illegal immigrants who live in Eugene. I am a medical interpreter and I work with many of them, many of these families, and I want to tell you why we owe to them to make Eugene a sanctuary city. Living in Guatemala for half of my life, I witnessed the exploitation and genocide that the American government policies, the involvement of the American policies in Guatemala and many other Latin Americans caused. That's the legacy of the American policies. And you can find that in history books. Still exploitation that is going on until today. We owe it to them. I always wonder, what if United States could have given an example of what democracy truly is? We may not have been having this talk right now. I had a friend in Guatemala, Marta, who invited me in early 1982, after Rios Montt had taken the power by a coup d'etat, she invited me to go to her city, and she did that because she thought she would feel safer if I was with her because she was indigenous and I was lighter skinned, and her community had been displaced because the army had attacked her community. We went to see her. We went to her town to visit her mother's tomb. And when I saw the town all desolated, the walls covered with bullets, I understood where she was coming from and her struggle. She lives in the United States, in California, in Los Angeles. And I can understand why all these people who are coming here looking for a better chance of life for them and their families. Thank you.
Thank you. Johannes Tadeo. Johannes, is he here? No? Okay. Phil Carrasco, followed by Simran Gillespie.
Hi. How's everyone doing tonight? So
We began this journey in November, immediately after Election Day. We're here now, and hopefully this vote tonight speaks to just laws. Still, we must do more, and everybody that's still out there in the audience knows I'm not going to stop. I know they're not going to stop. So I want to thank the HRC, the Human Rights Commission, the City Council, and fellow ad hoc committee members that helped along with the support of city staff in drafting this and having good conversations. Also to all who support making Eugene a sanctuary city, if you want to stand up right now, and plus everybody else that left, but look at that. That's great. I heard some stuff tonight about Thomas Jefferson, you know, and yeah, I've heard of him. I also know about Rodolfo Corky Gonzalez. I also know who Malcolm X is. And I resist every day the scary future this country may be facing. I resist through changing laws or establishing new ones. What makes this country have the potential of greatness is all the beautiful black and brown people establishing policies with allies that understand that all are welcome here. Tonight, we will establish that policy, and I couldn't be prouder of my city tonight. Thank you for what you do, or you will do tonight. It truly is what Eugene is, a human rights city. Thank you.
Thank you. And our final person is Simran Gillespie.
Hello, council members, and thank you for your time. I'm a representative in Betty Ward's district. I'm going to keep it brief, but I want you to consider one thing, and that's the policy that the Trump administration has put forward to round up undocumented people, whether they are students, whether they are workers, whether they are families, whether they have children here or not. These policies are forced removal of one ethnicity, and we have a word for that. It's ethnic cleansing. There's no excuse for that. There's no justification. And when there's talk about laws and so on, it's important to remember that indeed the higher moral law that compels us to ask what is right and what is just should really force us to say that it's unacceptable to have targeted racial profiling and to have targeted programs that specifically exclude people of color. This is another in a long line of policies that the U.S. has engaged in, and it's time to say no. In whatever ways we can, please pass this policy. Thank you.
Thank you. And that ends the public hearing. I will open it to council. Do Councilor Zelenka, Councilor Pryor.
I'd like to be in the queue, Mayor.
Councilor Surratt, Councilor Semple, and Councilor Clark. Okay, take it away.
Thank you all so much for coming out and speaking your mind and letting us know your opinions so eloquently and also so civilly. It's a hallmark of our community, I think, in a lot of ways. I strongly support this ordinance to protect individuals and their privacy. I'm a son of an immigrant. For those of you that think this is about the rule of law, it's also about separation of powers. Enforcing violations of immigration laws is the sole purview of the federal government, and it's inappropriate for any and all employees of the city of Eugene to do their job for them, and as it would be for any other solely federal function. However, be clear that we will, as we always have, arrest people if they've committed or if they for a crime pursuant to a warrant. That's different. Equally important, this ordinance also prohibits any part of the city of Eugene or any person in the city of Eugene to collect or maintain information about people's political, social, or religious views. That's the city government should not be collecting that information, period. And we won't be. We need to make Eugene make sure that Eugene is a welcoming, inclusive, and safe community for everyone. And finally, I am just thrilled and glad that we're passing our ordinance before Portland.
Councilor Pryor.
Thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight. This was very passionate and heartfelt, and as one of the people that was at the November meeting of the Human Rights Commission, and so I was kind of there for the launching of this, I support it wholeheartedly, and I'm glad that we have done it in the way that we have. I think that is not only a very telling symbolic representation, but it's also doing things the way they need to be done and to do them the right way. My wife and I like to keep up on all the Academy Award movies that were shown this year, and one of them that didn't get a lot of recognition was the movie Loving, which was a movie about a law in the state of Virginia that made it illegal for a white man and a black woman to be married. That was the rule of law in Virginia, and many people stood to defend passionately that law, that it was illegal for two different races to marry. For many years, the rule of law was that you could keep slaves. For many years, it was the rule of law that eugenics was something to be practiced in the schools and in the communities. In fact, Eugene has a history of some very bad things it did in eugenics at the beginning of the 20th century. I am pleased that we're able to create a law this evening that will do something that we know is right and moral and positive. Laws are created by people, and I'm proud to be one of the people who can be involved in creating a law that feels good and does the right thing and is not a law that fundamentally doesn't pass the sniff test. I think in this case it does. And so I'll be pleased to support it tonight, and I hope we have unanimous support from the rest of the council.
Councilor Siret.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, everyone who came out to speak and those who have contacted us via email. I want to point out that our ordinance does not violate any federal law. It's been carefully crafted to make sure it does not do that. And I believe we are upholding the rule of law by passing this ordinance. Local law, which provides our city with the legal authority to direct how we use our local resources, and that includes directing our police and city staff to refrain from acting as federal agents. I am so proud of this council, our mayor, our city manager, our Human Rights Commission volunteers, those who worked on the draft ordinance, and all of those who have come out to ask us to pass this ordinance. It is a human rights imperative that we as a city provide as much support and protection as legally possible to our immigrant residents who have and continue to contribute so much to our community economically, socially, and culturally. And I agree with those who made the point that this is an historic time, and I am proud as an immigrant and naturalized American citizen to be part of standing in opposition to the actions of this federal government that break up families and criminalize people who simply want to raise their families and work hard to improve themselves in our community. So passing this ordinance is the right thing to do, and I look forward to casting my vote in favor. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Semple.
Thank you, everyone, for coming and speaking from your hearts and your minds. I vote yes.
Councilor Clark.
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to say thank you to everybody for coming and for speaking tonight. I have to be honest and tell you that it makes me, I guess, sad when I hear some of the comments that are disparaging of the idea of the rule of law. The reason I say that is because I find that very important. It's important to me because it's what makes all of us equal. It's what makes sure that nobody's king and nobody gets to be dictator. It means the people rule. It means all of us get to be treated equally. But Mr. Morrison, I respect your point of view, but I disagree with you on a couple of things that you mentioned. I would agree with Councilor Zelenka that what this ordinance does is about the separation of powers. And we're not defying the law in any way. We're saying that this police and the employees of the city of Eugene don't do immigration enforcement. As a side benefit, they don't do federal meat inspections, and they don't do anything in terms of protecting our forests either. Those are federal employees that do that, and that's cool. That's good. That's the way it should be. We do things here that are about enforcing city laws. And I think that's an important distinction to people. If I'm wrong about this, I'd love to have somebody raise their hand, but I don't think there's anybody from my ward in the room. Is there? Ward 5? Anyone? No. We got a lot of emails from people who disagree with us about doing this. And a lot of my constituents do. And I would suggest to them that they don't understand this very well, or maybe they've misunderstood it. It's about the separation of powers. And the last part about us making lists of people based on belief or political opinion, I simply won't stand for. For me, and I understood the joke my friend Phil made, but I must tell you, Jefferson said some really important things about the right of conscience. And I think that's one of the most critical ideas of what it means to be American, is you get to believe any fool thing you want. Nobody gets to make laws about what you believe. Americans get to believe any crazy thing they want to, and that's what makes it great here. And I don't want to make any law that separates out people by their beliefs and by their political opinions and by their religion. That's absolutely wrong, and I'll fight it every time. So every part of this says that this is a just way for us to behave, and I'm proud to support it.
I want to just say one thing, which is how what a privilege it is to sit here and listen to all of you testify, and how wonderful it has been to see you waving your fingers all night long. So thank you very much for all of your passion and your commitment and your hard work and your goodwill to just building a tremendous community, diverse community. We have a ways to go. Whoever commented on that, that's true. We have a ways to go, but thank you very much. So now I'm going to ask council, is there any objection to taking action on this tonight? Okay. So all in favor?
Got to make a motion first.
Got to make a motion. Sorry, I'm so ready.
I want to second it, so I'm just saying.
Can't wait.
All right.
Let's make this formal.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let's start right.
Yeah.
I move to adopt Council Bill 5173, an ordinance concerning protections for individuals, and adding sections 2.495 and 2.497 to the Eugene Code 1971 from the corrected version.
And I second the motion.
Any discussion? All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4. Councilor Syrett?
I vote yes.
5. It passes. Congratulations.